welcome to the Premier League preview brought to you by sportsbet.io. This is part 2 where we'll be looking at the rest of the games. Do like, comment, share and subscribe to get your latest previews from the Premier League, from football across Europe, the Champions League, NFL and NBA as well. In part 1, you had the guys' thoughts, Paul Robinson and Neil Mellor regarding Spurs versus Chelsea, Everton versus Liverpool and Manchester United against Forest. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the rest of the fixtures for Matchday 15, looking at how they fared for the score predictions for last time out, trying to get their hands on this sportsbet.io trophy. Look at that beautiful thing. Also looking at the trebles as well. We're starting part 2, Matchday 15, the roundup of the rest with Aston Villa at home to Southampton. Aston Villa got a first victory in seemingly a long time last night as they beat Brentford 3-1. Southampton got absolutely pummeled. It's not happy as a Sheffield United fan to see another team in red and white struggling towards the bottom of the Premier League table, or at the bottom. Villa, at the time of recording, 1.42. Southampton, 6.8. 5.2 for the tie between these two. Mels, I'm coming to you first on this one. Score prediction. Thoughts and score prediction, please.
Comfortable home victory. Southampton, dearie me, watching them again. I don't know what goal it was against Chelsea, but they continue to play out from the back. And you can just see the frustration for the fans. Like, what are we watching? What are we watching? No idea if the manager will still be there. Probably presume so, but it's just a matter of when will Southampton go down. They're 7 points adrift at the moment. They'll be down by Easter easily if they continue this. It's just awful. So it's a case of how many for Aston Villa. I mean, what was the captain doing as well? Jack Stevens. He's the captain of the football club and he's pulling the hair of Cucurella. It's soft, it's silly, but the rules are the rules. You're going to get sent off for that these days. He's serving a suspension. They've already got the goalkeeper out, Ramsdale. So, it's a case of how many. Like Rodgers, I like Watkins. They will have an absolute field day. 4-0 Villa.
Yeah, you can see that coming. I do. As a Sheffield United fan, having seen my side last season in the Premier League, you can just see when a team is mentally broken and there's no fight, there's no spirit, and when things goes against them, that's it, the world is ending. I see that sense with Southampton, and sometimes it's not conceding the goals that does the damage, it's how you concede the goals. You go 1-0 down, you get back to 1-1, and then you drop a clanger. It was Joe Lumley in goal for Southampton last night, drops a clanger, and just the heart goes out the team. And, it was 5. It could have been 6 or 7. Villa have won 4 of the last 5 games against Southampton. 3 of those wins have been by a 0-0. I dare say that Southampton will probably settle for the 0-0 defeat at Villa. What's your thinking, Paul? Score prediction in this one, please.
Well, if Southampton get anything, it's a coupon buster, isn't it? I'd blow everyone's acres apart this weekend, early on a Saturday afternoon, if this one doesn't come in for Villa. I mean, so I saw Southampton at Wolves the other week, and they actually played all right, possession-wise, dominated possession. But then you look at where Wolves have been, you look at what Wolves have done in recent weeks, and then you question, was I just watching 2 poor teams, and one played slightly better than the other one, which is probably the truth of that. But then they go to Brighton, get the 1-1 draw, the way that the goal was VAR'd, if you like. That's obviously caused a lot of upset. And then the home performance against Chelsea. I like Melzer. I can't see a way out for him, not the way they're playing. If you're not as good as the teams you're playing against, you have to find a way to disrupt them. You have to find a way to win games. You don't try and play the same thing every week, and you don't try and pass Man City off the park. You don't try and play Chelsea at their own game with lesser players, if you like. And they're just making too many mistakes, conceding too many goals. Struggle to see where the next win's coming from. They've got 5 points, 14 games, 5 points, 7 adrift this stage of the season. They'll be done not so long if things don't change. Comfortable for Villa. Can't even see Southampton scoring. Looked at their conversion rate the other week, didn't I? It was like about 30% on target from the shots that they have. Only 30% go on target. One of the lowest scorers, if not the lowest scorers in the Premier League. A long afternoon for them at Villa Park. 3-0 Villa.
I will tell you that for the last 5 meetings, Southampton have failed to score against Aston Villa. Although, bizarrely, when Southampton do score away from home, they have scored every single one of their goals away from home in the first 15 minutes of the second half. So, if you are looking at a Southampton goal, maybe a second half goal is the way forward. I don't think many people will see Southampton getting anything from Villa. And you're the same. You've both gone for a fairly convincing win for the home side, 4-0 and 3-0. Next up is Brentford against Newcastle, 3 p.m. on Saturday. There is no... there's some inconsistent sides in the Premier League, but Brentford just are just a law to themselves, really. They have the best home form in all of the Premier League. They have equally the worst away form. It's ridiculous. Brentford have scored 22 goals at home so far this season in the Premier League. Liverpool have scored 13. Arsenal 15, Spurs 17, Man City and Chelsea have scored 12. And here are Brentford on 22 goals. They're 2.86 to beat Newcastle. Newcastle are 2.34, 3.74 the tie. Newcastle with that thrilling 3-3 tie against Liverpool last night. Paul, coming to you first on this one. Brentford against Newcastle. Thoughts and score prediction, please.
A mid-table clash, isn't it, really, as we're sat now. 9th v 10th. Newcastle, they had a decent performance against Liverpool. Draw at Palace, 2 draws. It'd be very disappointing, Eddie Howe, the way that his team drew at Crystal Palace, conceding that really late goal. I know it hurt one member of our team immensely, that late goal at Palace last weekend. Newcastle away, can't trust them. Newcastle at home, can trust them. Brentford at home, it's saying to me, draw this. I like Brentford at home. I like the players. They get the players back. Thiago's coming back into the side. They score goals and they do well at home. Tough place to go. I'm just siding with the home side, but I think this is probably one of the toughest, if not the toughest, games of the weekend to call. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brentford. I fancy both teams to score. Newcastle have got the firepower, as we saw last night. You know, they can score. They do get the goals, but I won't back against Brentford at home. I'm going to go 2-1 to the home side.
I will tell you, here's a stat that you may not be aware of, that they have never beaten Newcastle in the Premier League, have Brentford. They last won a league game against Newcastle all the way back in 1948. Who were the goalkeepers that day, is the question. Newcastle.
You tell us, you were there. You were there watching. You let us know. You got the programme.
Newcastle have won 5 of the 6 Premier League meetings. The other has been a draw. So if there's a bogey side for Brentford, it is Newcastle. So if there's one side who can come in and claim 3 points, because that's what they've done on a regular basis, it is the away side. But Brentford's home form is absolutely phenomenal. And yet, at 2.86, they are the slight outsiders, with Newcastle favours at 2.34. You've gone for a home win here, Paul. Mel's, what are you going for?
I thought Newcastle were excellent against Liverpool. You know, the fans have been, and Eddie Howe have been wanting the big players to turn up, and they did. You know, Gordon, Isak, absolutely outstanding, caused Liverpool a lot of problems. And if them players are at it again, you'd say Newcastle can get something from the game, but they've been inconsistent. Like many of those teams, sort of them, Villa, Spurs, where you're thinking, can they kick on to be in those European places? They're not where they want to be. Brentford are above Newcastle. And that's not good enough for Newcastle. There's no European football. There's no excuse for them not to be challenging in those European places. They have to try and get back to a run. Whether that performance against Liverpool might kick them on a little bit, I'm not sure. I just think Brentford at home are just too hard to back against. Away from home, I'd be on Newcastle to win. But at Brentford, I am all over Brentford to win. And also they want to respond. Didn't play well at Villa. 3-1 maybe flattered them. It could have been a lot worse than that. So I think Brentford will get the result. And I'm on the same scoreline as Paul. 2-1, home win.
Yeah, it's funny to see Brentford in 9th, really, because if their home form was distinctly average, they'd be down there with the likes of Crystal Palace and Ipswich, but it's their home form that's really propping them up. I will tell you that Isak seems to have found the goal-scoring touch. He's got goals in his last 2 games against Brentford, and Newcastle have scored 8 goals at home, including the 3 last night. They've actually scored 9 goals away from home, so Newcastle score more goals away from home than they do at home. No split opinion in this one, and the exact same scoreline as well. You've both gone for Brentford 2-1 win. I have stat of the day. Between Crystal Palace and Man City. That's a new thing. Producers,
your favourite team, Crystal Palace. You are now tagged with the Crystal Palace fan tag. You know,
yeah. Do you know what? They're doing all right, Crystal Palace. 5.5 for Crystal Palace. Man City at 1.6, 4.2 for the tie. When I say Crystal Palace are doing all right, they were shocking at the start of the season. They couldn't win a thing, but they have turned that form around. After losing 3 games straight in the Premier League, Palace have lost just 1 of their last 6 games. And actually, we did fancy an upset last night between Man City and Forest, and we got one. Man City won by 3-0 to defy their current form. Let's go to you. Did I go to you? It was Paul first last time. Let's go to you, Mel's. Your thinking and score prediction for Palace at home to Man City.
Yeah, Palace got that massive win, wasn't it, away at Ipswich? You know, they've been in and around the relegation places, and maybe a surprise. So they needed that, which was a big victory for them to beat Ipswich. that late goal last weekend was more than what they deserved against Newcastle. They should have won that one, but they did get that late dramatic point in the end. So a couple of decent results for Palace. So I feel as though they're on that upward turn. This is a tough game. City look back to it against Forest. 3 goals, could have had more. I'd say Bernardo Silva's due one, but he finally scored. He nicked one on the line. So it's his first Premier League goal.
The only week we don't do a prediction or a pod, Bernardo Silva scores.
Yeah.
Outrageous. Knew it. So leave Silva, he won't get one for another 20 games. Yeah. De Bruyne is back, and that's a big boost, him playing. Surprised he was on the bench at Anfield last weekend. I think City got a little bit of a run. I see this as a comfortable away victory. I was surprised at this one. City have lost once in 23 years at Crystal Palace. I mean, everyone says it's a tough place to go. Hasn't been for City. 1 defeat in 23 years. Yaya Toure scored the goal for Man City in a 2-1 victory. Who came on as a sub for City in the 66th minute? He is now a manager in the Football League. Last time City... Not even finished my question. Yeah, well done, Gav. Yeah, Lampard came on 2015. Last time City lost at Palace, Lampard came on the pitch ages ago. Yeah, City win for me.
I must have had some Weetabix this morning. I am on absolute fire.
Could somebody put him out with a shovel in the studio?
Yeah. My stat of the day: Rico Lewis has scored 2 goals for Manchester City. Both of those have been against Crystal Palace. He scored home and away for Man City against Crystal Palace. If you want a very random anytime goal scorer shout for Manchester City, Rico Lewis could be it. Did he give me a score prediction, by the way, Mel's, in this one?
2-0 away win.
2-0 for the away side. I guess the question with Man City, though, is are they back to it, or is that just a little blip? Forest at home, 1-3-0. It's a tougher challenge away at Crystal Palace because they've stopped, being a walkover that they were at the start of the season. So are you, Paul, going for an away victory too in this one?
Yeah, I've been hoodwinked into thinking that City are back as well. I watched them last night, the bits of the game against Forest, and with De Bruyne, it does look like they've turned a corner. Because listen, we know Forest are a decent side and they're not frightened to play anybody this season, Forest. City did look back at it, but this is the test. This is the test this weekend. After this weekend, we'll all be talking again next week. City are back in the title race. The 2 wins back to back. They've turned it round. Or we will be saying they've lost at Palace. It's not a quick fix for Pep Guardiola. Like Neil, I think they'll win. I think they'll go there, comfortable win. I don't trust them with a clean sheet. Concede too many goals away from home, Manchester City of late. And it's not been a blip. It's been a proper big bump in the road. They're sat 4th. You look how many points adrift they are at Liverpool. What is it, 9 points adrift they are at Liverpool now? In 4th position. So that wasn't a bump in the road. This game is massive for Manchester City. I don't think you can underestimate it. I'm actually going to this game on Saturday. Looking forward to it. I think Palace will make it difficult, but I think City are back and I think they'll score the goals. 3-1 Manchester City.
You've gone for 3-1 for the away side. They won at Selhurst Park 4-2 last season. Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's been scoring goals for Palace of late, he scored in both of Palace's last 2 home games against Manchester City. So if you want a anytime goal scorer shout from a Crystal Palace perspective, Mateta could be at over 3.5 goals, has landed in 3 of the last 4 meetings between these 2 sides. They have not been dull games when Palace take on Man City, but you both agree that Man City are going to win. At 2 p.m. on Sunday, Fulham take on Arsenal. This is an all-London affair as well. At the time of recording, Fulham are 5.4. You've got Arsenal at 1.57, 4.5 for the tie. At the time of recording, Fulham are playing later today. They're taking on Brighton. Arsenal beat Man United 2-0, of course. Fulham have failed to keep a clean sheet in any of their last 10 home games in the Premier League. And after no wins in the Premier League in 4 games and only scoring 3 goals, Arsenal have now won the last 3 games, scoring 10. So they firmly are back on it, Arsenal. I'll come into you first, Paul, in this one. Fulham against Arsenal, score prediction and your thoughts, please.
Yeah, Fulham at home, they're a better side than away from home. Obviously, drew 1-1 against Spurs. Poorish performance from Spurs. They're a good side, Fulham at home, and they score goals. Looking where they are, mid-12th, mid-table Arsenal, you just can't back against Arsenal. They're looking like they're going to be the real deal now. They've got players back. The set plays last night against Manchester United, the delivery from Declan Rice especially was outstanding. Saka was brilliant on the right-hand side of his left foot, but the deliveries from Declan Rice, they're almost indefendable at times. Under the bar like that, I certainly wouldn't have liked to have come and got involved in that. I didn't like to come off my line, but you had no choice with them Arsenal corners because they just put them on your line, so you had to deal with them. It's the set plays that they've got and the goals that they score from them. Can't back against Arsenal at the moment, and I think defensively they're getting back at it as well. They'll put a run together now. I think looking at where they are, tough game from Fulham, London derby. Where am I going with this? I'm going Fulham 0, Arsenal 2.
Thank you. Yeah, those corners for Arsenal. It's almost like, why doesn't every team do that? You start everybody at the back post, then you run across the goal line to the near post, and you whip it in viciously to the near post. As you said, they are undefendable. As a goalkeeper, what is the best way of dealing with something like that? Or defensively, how do you set up from such vicious corners in like that?
Well, you see what Man United tried to do last night. They almost put a ring around Onana. They put Onana on his goal line, and then from the front post to the back post, it was like a semicircle at the edge of the 18-yard box of players, and they tried to mark zonally. Because if you try and pick those players up individually, they'll get free. But you look at the amount of free headers that Arsenal got from the corners last night as well. Very, very difficult to defend against. We saw something similar, what England did a couple of tournaments back. You know, that group of players at the back post, and then they all break off and split. And it's hard to pick players up like that because you start in a bundle, you can't grab your man, you can't get next to your player. And then when it all splits, you're bound to lose at least one or two of the players. You mark zonally, players sometimes aren't used to marking zonally. And, you know, your players, the old saying, space doesn't score goals. But if you get into space, you can score the goals. And zonal marking is very, very difficult because it's always somebody else's fault. It wasn't me, it wasn't in my zone. There's always that, you know, whose zone is it? There's a grey area as who should have gone and headed it. But the way that Arsenal set up and those type of corners and free kicks where players bunch and then split, listen, it's all about the delivery. But they've got it right at the moment, Arsenal. Really right at the moment. It's very, very difficult to defend against.
If you do fancy Fulham at 5.4, it might actually just be worth holding on a little bit and going in play because Fulham have got a strange record at the moment. The last two games in which they've taken the lead at home, they've lost. And the last game they conceded first at home, they won. And also, last season, they took 4 points out of Arsenal. They took 4 points from 6. And the game they won at home is after Saka gave Arsenal the lead. So they came from behind to beat Arsenal last time as well. So they are a very strange side for them that they tend to win games when they fall behind. So if you fancy Fulham, it might just be worth waiting for that Arsenal goal to see if you can work back in.
I'll tell you what is a good bet in this, Gav, coming off the back of what we just talked about the set plays. Declan Rice or Saka, assist or goal anytime. Declan Rice assists because he's taken all the corners from the left-hand side and the free kicks. So the amount of emphasis they're putting on those set plays, it might be worth looking to back either Declan Rice or Saka, either just for an assist or if you really want to boost your odds, go Declan Rice, goal or assist.
Yeah, absolutely. Saka's got 2-2 versus Fulham as well. Neil, your thoughts and score prediction for Fulham Arsenal?
Yeah, I like Fulham. I think they're a good side to watch. I think they'll cause a lot of teams problems. I think this is a really good time to play Fulham because they, like many teams in the Premier League, are not used to high-intensity games midweek and the weekend. Arsenal are. They play in the Champions League. Fulham are going to play Thursday, Sunday, and I don't think they'll be able to cope to be at that level against such a good side like Arsenal. And I think that's where Arsenal have the advantage. An extra day's breather as well. You know, they played Wednesday rather than Thursday. So Arsenal look back at it. No surprise that since Odegaard's come back in, all of a sudden everything seems to be clicking in the right way. They scored 2 set pieces against United, but they can score a variety of goals. They can score so many different ways, so many different threats. And I don't think Fulham will be able to stop that. So they got beat there last year. I don't think they will this year. 3-1 away win for me for Arsenal.
Generally goals when Arsenal do win at Craven Cottage as well. 2013 they won 3-1, 2018 they won 5-1. Last 2 games at Craven Cottage Arsenal have won. They've won by 3-0. You've both gone for an away day victory for Arsenal, 2 p.m. on Sunday. Also 2 p.m. on Sunday, Ipswich taking on Bournemouth. Ipswich will probably have this, with the greatest respect to Bournemouth, as a must-win. Ipswich at 3.25, Bournemouth at 2.08, 3.9 for the tie. Again, time of recording, Bournemouth are playing Spurs later on today. After going 3 games unbeaten in the Premier League, Ipswich have lost their last 2 games 1-0. Bournemouth have scored 3 goals in their last 2 home games. They've scored 6 goals in their last 2 away games. They do score more goals away from home. I am coming to you first, Mel's, on this one. Ipswich against Bournemouth. Thoughts and score prediction?
Yeah, I like Bournemouth. Do like them. Feel as though Ipswich will battle, but they're having a little bit of a dip in form, beating up Forest, beating at home to Palace. Their team's around them, and they're getting nothing from those games. Bournemouth are better than them sides. So I don't know how Bournemouth have gotten against Spurs. So I'm speaking, obviously, without knowing how they've got on in that game. But I do like Bournemouth. If the key players are fit and available, the likes of Semenya, Ivan Nielsen, I see Bournemouth going there and getting a comfortable away win, actually. So I'm on them to win 3-1 in this one.
It's funny you've gone for an Ipswich goal, because Ipswich are yet to lose a game at home in which they've scored. When they score, they get something from the game, Ipswich. When they lose, they generally are not finding the back of the net. I will tell you, the last 4 meetings between these two sides, it's the first ever meeting between these two in the Premier League, but the last 4 meetings between these two sides all been in the Championship, and all of them have been score draws. Paul, Ipswich-Bournemouth, thoughts and score prediction?
It's a must not lose for Ipswich, isn't it? This is the staple diet of the Premier League. You know, you play the big boys, you play your Man Uniteds, your Liverpools, your Tottenhams, your Arsenals, etc. And these are the staple diet of the Premier League. These are the tough games. A home game against a team that have come up into the Premier League and established themselves. That they'd be the model. Ipswich will be looking at the likes of Brighton, Bournemouth, and trying to emulate them. I mean, the penalties last week, we've not spoke about that, have we? The penalties that Bournemouth got at Wolves. The same. What was it? The same player got the penalties, and the same player scored the penalties. A Premier League record. Don't know how they've got on against Tottenham. I think Ipswich have got to get some results at home. If they're going to get results, it's going to be at home. And I just fancy that after another day's rest for them, defeat at home against Palace, lost 1-0 at Forest, they're in games. They drew 1-1 at home with Man United. They're in games at Ipswich, but there's never many goals in Ipswich games. I think Ipswich nick this. I do. I'm not so sure on them keeping a clean sheet. I'm going to go either 1-0 or 2-1. I'm going to go a tight, horrible, ugly game. The Tractor Boys get off the mark again at home, 1-0 to the and Liam Delap for a goal. There you go. Enhance your odds. Stick Liam Delap in for a goal. Ipswich 1-0, Liam Delap for a goal.
They have to contain Justin Kluivert first. He's got 4 goals in his last 2 away games for Bournemouth, so Justin Kluivert has been in fine form. You've gone for the first home win of the season for Ipswich. Pressure on Ipswich because that gap is just starting to open up. I think Southampton are gone, 5 points bottom of the table, but Ipswich are 18th in the relegation zone on 9 points. Palace, Leicester and Everton 12, 13 and 14 points ahead of them. So if they, they're seeing the teams ahead of them pick up points, it's a must-win for Ipswich. Otherwise, that gap is going to grow. And you've gone for an Ipswich win. What price at Ipswich again? 3.25. You've gone for a Tractor Boys victory. Split opinion. 2 p.m. on Sunday, also getting underway at the same time as the 2 previous games we spoke about, is Leicester taking on Brighton. Ruud van Nistelrooy, the new boss of Leicester, got underway with a 3-1 win at home to West Ham. Time of recording, of course. Brighton are going to be playing Fulham later on today. Leicester are 5.4. Oh, that could be tempting. 5.4 for Leicester. Brighton 1.67, 3.85 for the tie. Paul, come to you first on this one. Your thinking and score prediction, please.
I was at Leicester the other night when they played West Ham. What did you say they were?
5.4.
Yeah, not going anywhere near it. They got absolutely battered and won 3-1. West Ham were the better team. Just didn't have any quality in the final third. Couldn't get the cutting edge. West Ham, to their credit, they played well, and at times Leicester hit them on the break, the smash and grab. They played on the shoulder. They had clever players, Buonanotte, McAteer, Vardy. They just sat on the shoulders of Mavropanos and Kilman, slipped the balls down the side. The second and third goals really came on the counter-attack. I wouldn't be comfortable at the moment back in Leicester. They still look fragile. They still look susceptible. Goalkeeper made a couple of really good saves in the first half to keep them in this game. I like Brighton. I like what he's doing at Brighton. I've got Brighton to go there and to give Ruud van Nistelrooy his first real welcome to the Premier League. It was a nervy... Listen, you look at the scoreline, 3-1, you think, oh, brilliant, convincing home win. Everything's turned round at Leicester. Nah, I'm going for the reverse, 3-1 Brighton.
See, my opinion doesn't matter on these things. We're fully aware of that. But it's just Brighton's away form. They've only won 3 of the last 10 games away from home. They won 2-1 at Bournemouth last time out. They've not won back-to-back games in the Premier League since September 2023. And Brighton have never won a Premier League game at Leicester, albeit a very different Leicester side in times gone by. But you've gone for an away win for Brighton. Neil, what about you? Are you agreeing or going for something for the Foxes?
Yeah, last time Brighton won away at Leicester, Lingard scored for them 10 years ago. Goodness me, that was a while ago. What I would say is, Leicester had 2 days extra recovery for this game. They played Tuesday, Brighton played Thursday. Don't like teams playing Thursday, Sunday. There may be some kind of tiredness, a bit of jaded in terms of the performance for Brighton. Otherwise, I'm thinking they go there and win comfortably. Because I'm not buying into this. Leicester have turned the corner with a new manager. As Paul mentioned, the scoreline suggests that it was comfortable. It was anything but against a really average side in West Ham. Brighton are better than them. So I'm on Brighton to win. And if Brighton play to what they can do, they win easily. And that's what I'm going to go for. Leicester 0, Brighton 4.
Wow. You've both gone for a convincing victory for Brighton. Patson Daka, by the way, scored versus West Ham. He actually has 2 goals in his last 3 games against Brighton. So if you want any time goal scorer shout for the home side, Patson Daka could be it. You've gone firmly, both feet in, both of you on Brighton to beat Leicester. And the final game for Matchday 15 on the Premier League preview with sportsbet.io is West Ham against Wolves. Not going to lie, I woke up this morning thinking I might be hearing news from Wolves that Gary O'Neill has been relieved of his duties after being walloped 4-0 at Everton last night, but he's still in charge as it stands. West Ham are 1.93, Wolves are 3.85, 3.75 for the tie. West Ham have lost their last 2 Premier League games, conceding 8 goals, and after winning at Fulham, scoring 4 goals in that victory for Wolves, they've lost the last 2 games, Bournemouth at home, Everton away, conceding 4 in both of those games. They are such a strange side, Wolves. I'm coming to you first, Mel's, on this one. You're thinking score prediction West Ham Wolves.
Could this be a managerless game where both teams don't have a manager?
Yeah, it could be.
We're both expecting both managers not to be in charge because of how poor they've been. By the way, listen to these stats for Wolves. 2 wins in 17 Premier League games, 3 wins in 24 Premier League games. How's he kept his job this long? Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely awful. He walked to the away end at Everton and they were singing "You Get Sacked in the Morning" and he didn't even applaud them. His interview afterwards, I think he knows what's coming. It's not been good enough for Wolves at all. They are really, really struggling. And whether you like him or not, it's ruthless football. It really is. So, I'd be surprised if he kept his job for this one. I'm on West Ham to win. Did all right at Leicester in terms of creating chances. Just didn't put it away. Whether Lopetegui's still in charge again, I'd be surprised. But even so, West Ham have the better players, and West Ham should win this game. So I've got West Ham to win 2-1.
2-1 win for the home side. Yeah, run of fixtures, by the way, coming up for Wolves now. After this one, home to Ipswich, away at Leicester. If they don't pick up maximum points in those, you can see Gary O'Neill gone, with the greatest of respect. West Ham have conceded 15 goals at home so far this season in the Premier League. There's only one team who have conceded more goals at home, and that is Wolves. Although Wolves, bizarrely, they've scored 11 goals away from home this season. That's the same number of goals as Arsenal, and at the time of the recording, more than Manchester City. So Wolves have scored more goals away from home in the Premier League than Manchester City. It'd be just like Wolves to lose a couple of games 4-0, 4-1. And then beat West Ham 4-1. It's just the way they're going. Paul, your thoughts, West Ham Wolves score prediction as well, please.
Yeah, take those 5 goals off that Arsenal scored last week. West Ham have only conceded 10 at home. Saw enough from West Ham against Leicester on Tuesday, the way that they play. Like we said, there's a lot of question marks about Lopetegui's future, but actually the way that the team played, I wasn't too disappointed. I mean, I know West Ham fans are disgruntled with the way that it's not really changed. The results haven't changed. You're looking across at Aston Villa and you're seeing what Unai Emery, a similar type of manager that they would have expected coming in, the money that they've spent, the direction that Villa have gone in. West Ham just haven't followed them. The home defeat against Arsenal was poor. Listen, I think the Newcastle performance away, that blew quite a few people's acres apart. I think we all expected Newcastle to win that at home against West Ham. And that was a performance that he got from his team. He can get that performance from his team. And they were almost there against Leicester, but just didn't have the cutting edge or the quality in the final third. I think they'll have too much for Wolves. I think Wolves will be susceptible, fragile, not very confident. But they've said this, and then what did they do? They went and beat Fulham, didn't they? They put 4 past Fulham the other week off the back of a couple of defeats. Can't see it. I do worry for Gary O'Neill. We're in a results business. A Graham Potter or a David Moyes, somebody who knows the Premier League, to go in there and to try and keep Wolves in the Premier League, I think will be imminent. West Ham, not sure what they're going to do with Lopetegui. I think this one might just keep him in a job for a little bit longer. 3-1 West Ham.
You've gone for 3-1 West Ham. West Ham beat Wolves home and away last season. They got 6 points out of 6 from Wolves. They did beat Wolves 3-0 at home last time out. Jared Bowen getting the final goal of the game. So no split opinion for this one. For your Monday night fixture, 8 p.m. on Monday to round up Matchday 15, West Ham against Wolves. You've both gone for a home win. Let's reflect now on how you fared on your score predictions for Matchday 13. So you are playing for the sportsbet.io trophy. Look at that beautiful thing. I can see that being on the mantelpiece. Pride of place in both of your houses. So the way it's working is you're giving your score predictions. We're making a note of all your score predictions and then looking back a week later to see how you fared. You get 1 point for a correct result, 3 points for a spot-on score line. The story of the season is that Paul raced into a 4-0 lead. Mel's came back to 4-3. Then you tied for about 4 weeks. And then Neil got 2 weeks consecutively to lead 5-4. But there's a comeback. He wasn't going down without a fight. And 11 points to 9. You won last weekend, which means we're back level tied at 5-5. So when the pressure's on, you responded, Paul.
You mean I woke up? That was a long time without winning, wasn't it? It was a long stint. Now, if you count all the draws and the losses, after the first 4 weeks of the season, it's absolutely catastrophic. But like Manchester City and Pep, let's see if I can come back.
That's exactly what you've done. You are the Pep of the podcast. That's what you are. On a bad run, but come out of it with a smile on your face. So 5-5, extremely tight. We'll see how you fare in next week's episode, of course, for Matchday 15. Now, it's the trebles. So you're giving me trebles every single week, and we are putting 10 USDT on these trebles. Last week, heartbreak for Mel's. In fact, I won't tell this. You tell everybody what happened.
Daniel Muniz. Is that how you say his name? He didn't just kill me treble. He ended up costing me my victory against Paul. That 94th minute equaliser. Just defend the back post, Newcastle. Defend the back post. I win my treble. I win the week against Paul. Disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. 94th minute, my treble went down.
Yeah, he did. You went for Brentford, Arsenal and Newcastle. That was a 5.6 USDT treble. We put 10 on it and it would have been 56. With your 73 you've already banked, we're raising money, and whatever money's raised throughout the course of the season, we'll donate to charity at the end of it. That would have taken you well over 100 USDT, but that last minute equaliser scuppered you. So you're still stuck on 73 in the bank. Robbo, you went for Brighton, Wolves and Man United. 2 of those 3 did not land, with Brighton and Wolves not landing you a penny. So you still, at the moment, have 0 in the bank. We shall move on. It's a new week, a new treble. Robbo, I'm coming to you first on this one. What's your treble for this weekend?
I have 0 in the bank because Neil wasn't winning this competition. We ripped it up and started again halfway through the season, or else I would have a lot of money in the bank and I'd be winning this quite comfortably. But we started this game halfway through the season, so I'm not overly happy with this game, and I'll play just for playing's sake. This week, I'll go for Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United. There you go.
You've gone for Arsenal, Man United and Liverpool, the firm favourites. That's actually a nice treble of 3.73. So stick 10 on that. You could end up with 37.3 USDT. So,
and if I win a load of money after Christmas and Mel's is losing, we'll scrap it and start again.
Money's money. Protest has been registered. Thank you very much. Mel's, your treble for this weekend, please, for Matchday 15.
Yeah, I've got 2 bankers and a risky one. So I've gone Aston Villa and Arsenal as my bankers. And I was torn between Bournemouth or West Ham. But I've gone for Bournemouth as my third one.
So you've gone for Villa, Arsenal and Bournemouth, and that is a slightly bigger treble of 4.74, which will return 47.4 USDT. So your trebles are on, and the very best of luck, and we shall reflect for Matchday 16 on how you fared this time around. Guys, as always, absolute privilege. Thank you very much for your time. It's very much appreciated. We'll do it all again for Matchday 16. Good luck with your bets as well. And always, please do gamble responsibly.